Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Wrong Ones. So, India has finally qualified for the World Test Championship finals. They have beaten England 3-1. The surprise in that is the fact that England actually won a test match. But yeah, we'll talk about that and other things on this podcast. So, obviously, there's Noor and there's Kabir. And we're going to be talking about the whole series and what worked, what didn't work, which curator should be fired, and whether the pitches were up to the mark or it's just the England whinging, which they usually do when they don't win a test match and things don't go their way. So we're going to try and mix it up this time. We're not going to go through every test match because it kind of gets boring and it's kind of repetitive about the things we say. So let's try and just talk about some of the big themes about this test series and what we thought and what our 2 cents are on these major issues, surrounding especially the pitch. So let's go first. Since I brought it up, let's talk about the pitch. The pitches actually through this test series. Noor, what do you think? Were there any problems? Were any of the pitches good? Were any of them really bad? Was it just England being England and not being able to take a loss, or was there some truth to what they were saying?
I mean, okay, I think the biggest pitch was the third test match in Ahmedabad, right? That was the big hoo-ha because no one was making runs. I mean, you could defend the Chennai pitch because Ashwin made 100. You can defend the Ahmedabad four test match pitch because Rishabh made 100. But to me, it's like you have to be able to play spin. Then that goes to Indian batsmen as well. You have to be able to play spin regardless of what the surface is. I mean, how much like was it the most like the best surface we could have produced? No, but then again, like who determines what the best surface is? Like if for example, if we went to England or if we go to New Zealand or we go to Australia, India goes and then we complain about, oh, there's too much grass, it's too much rust, too much swing, too much bounce. We can't play. This is unfair. These are the rules. What are we gonna do? The ball's swinging everywhere. Can you imagine? They'll be like, learn how to play the game of cricket. And what's the point? Like, so like learn how to play spin. Like Virat Kohli learned how to play the swinging ball after that horrible England Test series he had. He learned. Just get better. You're not good enough. And the reason you're not good enough is because you don't have good enough spinners in your domestic system. So like your batsmen don't play against them. Get better. Stop complaining and get over this little like I don't know, just get over it. That's my opinion.
Noor coming out all guns blazing, or
Thank you.
coming out swinging. And Kabir,
Yeah.
what do you think? Are you with Noor or are you supporting Michael Vaughan? Where are you
What do
going?
you think, Ahaan? Who do you think I side with, Noor or Michael Vaughan?
I
Going
would
by
go.
historical data,
I think Noor. I think
yeah,
Noor
I
is the more
think I
probable answer.
stand completely with Noor. Um, yeah, I think the Ahmedabad pitch was bad. That's the first on the in the third test. I think it was bad. I think it was good for Test cricket. I mean, okay, no, that's not really true. Was it good for Test cricket in that we got a really exciting short Test match? Yes, that was good. Was it a fair test of the abilities of the players? Maybe not, because it kind of became a lottery, right? Yeah, obviously, India, the Indian spinners are better, but it's kind of one of those things where break, if you level the playing field to the level to the extent that everything you bowl is a lottery, then it doesn't really matter if Dom Bess is bowling or Ravichandran Ashwin is bowling, right, on pitches like that. Um,
I
so
think it does
that's kind of
matter because Dom Best can't bounce the ball, irrespective of the pitch you put in front of him.
That's also true. You have to first take advantage of the pitch by landing the ball. Um, exactly. So that's kind of what you got to weigh up. Um, I think it was an exciting test match that third test, which is in contrast that first test match. I think was particularly exciting. Um, the having to watch England bat for 2 days was particularly painful. Um, but I thought Root's innings was probably the innings of the. That's not true. That's completely untrue. Rishabh Pant's was. But anyway, um, Root batted incredibly in that first test. So kudos to him. I think obviously went downhill from there. And that Chennai pitch was a bit, I don't know, just boring, I guess. Not something that we're used to seeing in India that often. And then the rest of the series, the pitches look absolutely fine, as you'd expect in India.
Yeah, I think actually, I think this was just typical. English behavior, because in the first game I didn't think the pitch was great. I mean, it was way too flat for the first 2 days, but no one cried because Root was scoring a double hundred. And then when
And it
the
was flat. Nobody
Yeah.
cries if it's flat.
yeah, and when the conditions didn't favor them and they favored India, then it became all about the pitch. But I do think it was not a good advertisement for Test cricket, because it was no Test match will be finishing in 2 days, and it was not a 5-day pitch, which it should have been. But I guess each test it's called Test cricket for a reason. It's supposed to test different
You know,
abilities.
you.
And
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt
but-
you.
yeah, go on.
But like you say, it was in a pitch for 5 days. But like we were like 90 odd for 3, or weren't we?
I agree,
At
but
one point, yeah,
yeah,
that's
I agree,
fine,
but it was a sort of a lottery. Like, I mean, there was always a ball with your name on it that was going to come. Like, even as well as you, it's the kind of pitch where you have to resort to attacking rather than trusting your defense. I mean, you can try as hard as you want to trust your defense, but at the end of the day, there'll be one that pitches on off, pitches on middle and turns past, takes your edge, and then you can't really do anything about it. So, I mean, it's fine. I'm all for it if it's like 1 in 15, 20 test matches are like that, but not like every second or third test match.
Yeah, my worry with that pitch as well was that it was more inconsistent. We saw in the Nagpur pitch when South Africa toured, that wasn't inconsistent. Yes, it was up and down in terms of the bounce. So the bounce was inconsistent. The spin wasn't inconsistent. Every time it was turning square. So kind of once you got behind the ball, and we saw what Amla and De Villiers were able to do in that series, they were able to salvage redemption in a way. So in that sense, yeah, I don't know. I guess we're comparing two not ideal pitches, but yeah, both teams. Again, that's one thing that you can consider as well. Both teams are playing on the same dance floor.
Yeah,
And,
fair enough. Anyway,
one's gonna come up.
enough pitch talk. Now we're starting to sound a bit like the English, which we shouldn't be doing.
Well, just one more thing on the pitch. Sorry, I apologize,
Okay.
but one more thing on the pitch. It is something to note, I think. I don't know if it adds anything to this conversation, but it's something to note that when Australia toured last time, they complained about every single pitch in private. They didn't say anything in public, but they complained about every single pitch in
No, but
private.
even the English players
Even-
haven't said anything in public.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but they complained to the match referee. Like officially complained to the match referee in private. Not that anything came of it, but it's just something to note that like this is a common occurrence when teams tour countries and they complain about the pitch. I don't know if India does it because again, could be in private, right? And our players are quite private about stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm not sure about what that
Anyway.
adds, but I'm just giving some.
Yeah,
information.
let's move on from the pitch and move on to some performances, because those are the highlights at the end of the day of the series. And I think there's 3 main sections we can split this conversation into. So first, let's talk about. We'll save our favorite one for the last, but let's start with the spin duo. I mean, actually, I just wanted to say Delhi Capitals because I saw this stat today that basically said that the last 5 tests India has won in the last 2 series. All the man of the matches have been Delhi Capitals players. I mean, if you talk about good omens, it seems like
that bodes well.
Yeah, it seems like it's going the right way. But let's go with the spin.
Well, actually, does it bode well because it's Test cricket and it's T20 cricket? So anyway.
It just means they're good
Form is form,
That's
maybe.
Yeah,
all I'm saying.
let's go to the spin twins, more specifically Ashwin Aksar, and we can throw a little bit of Washington Sundar in there because why not? So,
And not Kuldeep Yadav, unfortunately.
I mean, I think he's fallen way down the pecking order now. But
Yeah.
Kabir, what are your views, man? Aksar Patel. No one believed it. No one thought it would happen. No one thought he'd do that.
I so
Yeah,
said
yeah,
Aksar
okay.
Patel was going to have a good series. You guys just don't listen to me.
No, we do.
just
Well, by the way,
realized-
on that note, happy Women's Day to everyone watching
Happy International Women's Day.
this.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Everyone should listen to Noor particularly hard today.
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Anyway,
But
so-
again, I'm anyway predicting a few things right these days, so listen to
exactly.
me anyway.
yeah.
But I
so-
told you guys Aksar Patel will have a good because he just bowls so quickly, and that's what you need to do in India.
Fair enough.
It's good.
I think he's impossible to play. I mean, I thought he was just unplayable.
He played like a
Um,
proper B-Tech Jadeja in this tour. Like it was literally like Jadeja.
Was it a B-Tech Jadeja? I don't even know if it was a B-Tech Jadeja. His
I think
batting
it was-
was a B-Tech.
He
Yeah, I
bowled
guess.
better than Jadeja.
Okay, fine, but like you didn't feel like you were missing Jadeja at all. He bowled basically.
No,
like,
not at all.
and that's the
No.
interesting thing when Jadeja comes back. How do you frame your 3? Because according to me, according to me they'll drop Sundar and bring Jadeja straight in, and then because Jadeja compensates for Sundar's batting and gives you better bowling. But I know a lot of people who believe that you don't need that extra. Your third spinner doesn't need to be a proper spinner, and you might as well bring Jadeja in for Aksar, so that you improve your batting, and Sundar can carry on playing as a third spinner.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, we don't need a
No,
third. But okay, considering we're going to tour England next, you don't need a third
No,
spinner.
no, I'm talking about
Yeah.
in India in the future.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Sundar's batting eventually, though? Is
Yeah, we
that
can
in
talk
the?
about that in
We
this.
will get. Should we get to that in a bit? Let's just talk about the bowling first, I think,
Yeah.
because
All right.
I think that like obviously the spinners were. I mean, Ashwin and Akshay were unbelievable, right? Um, but I think something that we should also take note of is how good Mohammad Siraj was. Playing his
So,
first test in India, um, he was unbelievable. I thought on some pretty benign pitches.
yeah.
I don't know what. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I.
he was good, but to be very honest, I don't think the Seamers had much to do. They were just they were for most of the series they were just like side pieces,
Yeah.
and it was basically Ashwin doing Ashwin things at India in India. I think that's like his ninth man of the series performance or something, which
Yeah,
pretty.
Okay.
I think it's third all time.
I think it's highest in Indian cricket. I think next best is Sachin with 5 or something. So just shows you
Yeah.
the difference. And he passed 400 wickets as well. So shout out to Ravi Ashwin.
Yeah.
And he got a
And
century and
Ishant Sharma passed 300.
100 test matches. That's true. Yeah. So I think our bowling was pretty. It was quite funny because the first test match, I think at one point their first innings was as many runs as their next 4 or something, or their next 3.5 or something like that, which was quite funny because as soon as the pitcher started spinning, the English kind of looked like deer in headlights. They just didn't know what the hell was going on. It's kind of like Kabir when he faces my bowling, just doesn't know what's happening once the ball pitches.
Yeah. Usually the
So,
ball ends up in the park behind your house. So
That's not
I
true.
mean,
But
Ahaan,
anyway,
even I can hit your ball.
you just said you
So
haven't picked. You just said you haven't picked up a cricket bat.
exactly. I already know how bad a bowler you are based,
This is
based on my
unnecessary hate for no reason. Anyway, let's move on from the bowling because the bowling was pretty much business as usual. It did what it had to do and took the wickets on spinning tracks, which we expect our team to do. Anyway, moving on to the more exciting stuff. So I'm splitting this into two sections. Yeah, one is the old guard and the second is new India. We start with
is
old.
that right?
Woo.
We start with the
Ahaan,
old guard.
I
Yeah.
think you should start with your spicy takes on the on our Indian batting, particularly the old guard. I think you've got some interesting opinions there.
I think we can get into that. But the old guard, I think from the old guard, it's fair to say the only one who had a good series was Rohit Sharma. As much as we love to not like him on this show,
I
and
love Rohit
do
Sharma.
love him,
In
but Kabir
India.
and I have had some controversial opinions about
Dude,
Rohit
you
Sharma's
guys
test
like him in
position.
India also. You guys love him in
Yeah,
India.
I mean he is Bradman in India.
Yeah, but
He's
I mean,
bad.
he's not. I'm scared for him away, but we have to admit that there was some pretty high class knocks in that series, especially the one in Chennai first innings of the second test. It probably changed the momentum our way, and he was by far and away the best of our old guard. Not the same can be said about the two other men and the captain in the team. The captain, I mean, it's Virat Kohli. He'll come back to form eventually. Hopefully, we can live in hope because without him, England is going to be a shit show. But I think, okay, here's the hot takes since Kabir wanted to hear it. I think
I do love hot takes.
Ajinkya Rahane's race is run. He scores 1 in 10 innings, 1 innings a series. Even in Australia, people will say he won us 1 game, he shifted the momentum. But at the end of the day, that was 1 in 8 innings that he actually scored runs, 112. And then even in this series, he scored 1 innings, which was the 68. He scored, yes, it was a crucial partnership with Rohit, but it was 1 innings. You can't have your number 5 scoring 1 innings in a test match. That's just not okay. You need him to score quickly. And I think given the plethora of talent we have these days in Indian cricket, like I was trying to make a parallel 11s. We don't need to carry passengers in this team. And if we want to match Steve Waugh's Australia or Clive Lloyd's West Indies, we need to make some pretty harsh, ruthless decisions. And I think Ajinkya Rahane either needs to start becoming more consistent in England, or I think he needs to be some harsh calls need to be taken. Even though I know Kohli loves calling him the impact player, it is what it is.
I want him to play the World Test Championship final. I
I
don't
mean,
want
yeah,
to
he will.
change
That's the
the
next test match.
six.
He has to play that.
And I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
him to. I want him to play the England series as well.
Yeah, but then after that we can see. I think
Yeah.
because you know why? Because I think like I don't know about you guys, and I'm maybe going to like New India right now, but like I
We're
think
all
Washington
thinking
is
this. We're all thinking this.
Washington's good enough to bat in the top six.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He's
Washi
so
at number
good.
5. Washi
He's
has
like
to be our
Steve
new number
Smith.
5.
Like at the start of Steve Smith's career, he batted like 8 or something and was an off spinner. Like,
He was a leggy.
leggy, sorry,
If
a
we get
leggy.
Washi at number 5, we can play 3 spinners away as well, like Washi as a third spinner and 3 quicks.
Was he at number 5? Do you remember he was an opening batsman, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he know. I mean, he can open. He's probably got
No, I
better
don't think he can open. Okay, he can
technique.
open test cricket. I was just putting it
He's
out
got
there, but I think he
technique better than most of our team. But I think 5 is a serious shout. Like I think as a long term, Washi is a number 5. He's a batsman more than a bowler, at least in Test match
Bowler.
cricket.
I
Maybe-
think the second innings of the last game he bowled badly. So I think like his skill is batting. Like that's what he needs to focus on.
it's
And but it's like I guess it's weird for him because like in Test cricket, I think he needs to be a batsman predominantly, but in like the shorter formats, he needs to be that all rounder. So he needs to figure it out.
I think Washi at number 5 gives you the option to play Pandya and still have 3 other seamers and Jadeja or Ashwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
think
team-
something we lack and have lacked for the last 5 years, pretty much since. Well, yeah, we had Raina for a bit. We had like Rohit played a little bit. Since we lost Yuvraj, basically we haven't had a top 6 batsman
That
who
can
can
bowl.
bowl a little
Kedar
bit.
Jadhav.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Vijay
If you want to
Shankar.
count that.
Oh, Mr. 3D.
Sure, if you want to count that. But yeah, we haven't had top 6 batsmen who can bowl a bit. So maybe that is the future direction we'll go into. Yeah, I mean, God, his batting is bloody good, right? I was so
Anyway,
devastated
one
when
second,
he
first
didn't
second,
get
one second, one
100.
second, one second. We're supposed to be talking about the old guard here. Can we first talk about that, then we'll move
Anyway, okay, right. Refocus. Fair enough. I don't have that much to say on them. Like, I just think it's just in relation to the averages this series, they didn't do that badly. Like,
Come on, you
they
don't
played
worry.
on tough pitches.
Pujara hasn't scored 102 years, like 30 something innings. Virat across formats hasn't scored 137 innings. Rahane scores a series. Come on, bro. We need if you want to
Has
beat
Kohli really not scored 137 innings
across formats, yeah.
Yeah, across formats.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year.
Jesus.
I think that's
First
okay.
time in a series that Kohli has got 2 ducks in a Test series at home.
Yeah, it's okay. He gets a sneaky amount of ducks actually, Kohli.
Yeah.
In Test cricket particularly.
I think I think there is like this like baggage of like 3, 4, and 5. I mean, 3, 4, 5 there. I think that it's definitely developing. I think the first one to get cut off
It's a developing situation.
Yeah, it's a developing situation. I don't think because look at how Pujara batted. Would you say that even though Pujara didn't make a century in Australia, that he wasn't good?
No, obviously not.
I have a controversial opinion on Pujara as well, but okay.
Goodness. Well, I love controversial opinions, please.
Pujara is a brilliant player in your team to have on a day 5 pitch when you're batting to save or would try and win a Test match like he did at Gabba and Sydney. But I think in the first innings at home, because if you look at the last Test match, Pujara and Rohit batted in that session in the morning for the 1 hour and they scored 15 or 20 runs in 15 or 16 overs. That completely did not move the game. So when Pujara got out at drinks and then Kohli went immediately after that, instead of being 70, 80 for 3, you were 40 for 3. And that meant if you lost another wicket immediately, you were 40 for 4, trailing on a 205 run score. So I think unless Pujara starts at home, at least
If you start about his strike rate again, I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's what I was.
It's not
hearing.
about his strike rate. It's about the role that he plays. If he wants to play that role that he plays, I feel like he should open for India because especially when he goes to England, especially in England, the role, the point is that you need to steer the new ball. And I think his kind of role is very good to blunt the new ball. And if you want to use him as that role, but when you're playing in India, like I just said, if he comes and bats 20 and bats like 100 balls for 5 runs and then or 80 balls and gets out like he did in that last game, it doesn't move the game forward. So he needs to slightly tweak his game. At least when he's playing at home in the first innings or the first 2 innings of a Test match, not the last one. That's fine. He can carry on his game, but he needs to slightly tweak it. Obviously, he should still continue his team. I'm just saying that he needs to tweak his game slightly when he's playing at home.
That's the criticism everyone has of him. Okay, if he gets out, then he's a failure. If he doesn't get out, he's a success. Like, You started your conversation. You started your point by saying, "Yeah, he's great when we win or we draw, but then we
No,
lose."
I said he's great in day 5 situations.
So he's great in difficult situations when we
Yeah.
win and we draw. I mean,
Yes, but all I'm saying is like he needs to slightly tweak his game in the other situations because he can't bat the same way in all situations.
But you say that, but like look at the people that surround him in the team.
yeah,
Like like
it's
I
all.
don't think he needs to do it because there are like our openers, both of the ones we're playing, and we'll get to the newer one right now. They both like hitting the ball. They both score runs positively. Virat Kohli, when he's in great touch, scores runs positively. Like okay, Rahane is a little slower, but then we have Rishabh Pant, after him, after Pujara. So like I don't think we need another. I actually like the fact because Pujara exhausts bowlers. That's
Yeah,
his role in the team. He tires them out so that they don't have anything to
yeah.
bowl at.
Yeah, I love Pujara.
Do
I
that
Wait,
as
just
much
want
as
just give me a second.
yeah.
Just let me add to that because I think that it's not Pujara's fault that Kohli or Rahane or somebody else aren't making runs. It's in the past, Pujara has not made runs or made runs that hasn't affected Kohli's batting, that hasn't affected Rahane's batting. Like these guys have still succeeded with Pujara and team in the past. It's not suddenly just because he's batting the same way that is now that it's now his fault that Kohli or Rahane or anybody else isn't making runs.
I just wish like Pujara, like you look at New Zealand, right? They've got Williamson at 3. Is he a 3 or a 4? He's a 3, I think.
3, yeah, 3, 4.
So he has the ability to dead bat it in situations, but he also knows that when he's like, let's say batting first and he's at home, he will still look to score runs. Like he's not gonna like I just feel like if you look at the last inning that Pujara played in this series, he got 0 runs of the Quakes in like some 40 balls or 50 balls, and all his runs were off leach. And I think at home, when you're playing, I can understand his approach away still because we're a bit susceptible when we bat away. But I feel at home we're a dominant team, and I feel he when he's batting in the first innings or the second innings of a test match, he needs to tweak his game slightly, maybe slightly get it slightly more in terms of trying to score runs. But I get your point. Anyway,
Pujara's a bit like Cook. He's just a little bit limited, so he takes advantage where he can, but a lot of the time he doesn't. He just kind of like
yeah, but
splitters
Cook
out
had
or
the
doesn't do much.
toughest position in cricket, opening in England. Pujara is not opening in England.
Yeah, bat 3 like half the time with
Yeah, but
the
batting
guys who
at
we were
3
playing
in
with.
India is not as tough as opening in England.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Still, he still bats. He still bats in the top order, right? He's a limited player. Then he makes a lot of runs. I think isn't that just what Cook was as well?
I hope. Okay, so the thing is, we need hundreds soon. So him and Kohli need to start scoring hundreds because they've taken 30 innings each and not scored hundreds in a while.
Anyway, we'll see.
Anyway, moving on to more positive topics. From the old guard to new India, which apparently is a new term that everyone loves brandishing about. Anyone under the age of 26, I think is the age, is new India, which includes us apparently. So it is what it
I'm
is.
honored and
Apparently we are
overjoyed.
we are listed in the same bracket as Rishabh Pant and Washington Sundar.
Well, him and I are quite similar.
Yeah. One left-handed wicketkeeper batsman, one hits Cummins, the other gets out to me.
From Delhi, left-handed wicketkeeper batsman from Delhi.
Yeah, but one is hitting Cummins, the other is not.
Now I can find a lot of correlations with Rishabh Pant. He lives in Vasantpur. I live in Vasantpur.
Yeah, there you go.
No, you shouldn't be giving your address away here. Come on.
It's fine. Yeah, Vasantpur is big.
Yeah. Anyway, so how do you want to start this? Let's first talk about Rishabh Pant. Yeah, because I mean that's this podcast should just be renamed the Rishabh Pant special.
This is a Rishabh Pant stand podcast.
Yeah, let's move to Rishabh Pant, and we have been talking about it
We love
for
Rishabh Pant.
months about how Rishabh Pant needs to be everywhere. I mean, he needs to be in all the squads. This, that. Finally, the Indian world knows that we always talk the truth. Rishabh Pant is the current king of Indian cricket. He has carried his team on his back for the last 2 series. He has scored the highest number of runs for any Indian in 2021. He averages some insane 50 in the series, 60 overall, I think, over the 2 series. It's pretty insane, some of his numbers. And I think what was more beneficial, I mean, what is best to see was the fact that his wicket keeping has improved. Because all the time we get, every time we try and defend Pant, we keep getting shit. Oh, but Saha's such a better keeper. Saha's a much better keeper. He can take catches, stumpings. Pant pulled out some pretty sexy stumpings in this series. So
Well, they were a little bit messy, but he got the job done.
Yeah, Kabir, what do you have to say about Rishabh Pant
As our wicket keeper in
As a
and
wicketkeeper,
batsman and batsman
as
in
a
the
batsman, as a human being, no,
as
I
a
just think he's
god?
great. As a
he's so great.
as a deity, um, overall, just yeah, I mean, wonderful. Um, the amount of joy I get from watching Rishabh Pant batting is
The ball
unsurmountable.
to reverse sweep Jimmy
Yeah,
Anderson over
yeah,
skip. What goes through your mind? That's insanity.
yeah. Especially since like on the verge of getting 100, essentially.
After having
Yeah,
missed 3 in the last 2 months.
exactly. I mean, the guy has balls of steel. Um, I don't know, man. Like, what? It was just unbelievable. The batting was really, really unbelievable. Um, the keeping has gone up leaps and bounds. He's moving better. Um, he's more consistent. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess we said not toot our own horns, but you just give him some time and he's going to get better at keeping. That's kind of just what happens with keeping. You just need a lot of practice out there. Dhoni was the same. Dhoni wasn't a great keeper when he started and got better and better and better until he was probably the best keeper standing up to the stumps, maybe in the history of the world. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need to
awesome.
thank Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli because I mean we did speak and preach about how Rishabh Pant is the future of Indian cricket, but they did have to tell him to lose weight and take the game a bit seriously, which seems to have
Yeah,
worked out. Which is a
yeah,
good thing. He took it the right way and he grew from it rather than getting angry and pissy about it. So that's a good thing because I
yeah.
know
And
some
I'll
left-handed
offer an
wicketkeeper
apology.
batsmen from India, from Delhi, who play in England and might be on this podcast would get pissy. Someone told him that so give him feedback similar to what Rishabh Pant got.
What? Sure. I think. Well, yeah, I was completely thrown off by that. But what I was gonna say was that I I'm gonna offer an apology because I do criticize a lot of what Mr. Shasti does. But I think what he did here with Rishabh, I guess, has worked out in the end. With I thought that him being benched and being in the squad for so long, not playing, and then kind of mix up his role. What is he doing? That was mixed messaging, and didn't seem good for his game. It didn't seem good for India to play well. Um, but he somehow got through to him, and they devised a way that works for them, and as coach and player, whatever, that full combination. And honestly, it's reaped the rewards, and it's freaking awesome.
Yup, Rishabh Pant, awesome. No, do you have anything to add on Rishabh Pant, or should we move on to our next New India?
He is my favorite player currently. He is
I think that's a common theme on this podcast.
He's so good. And like he is, you know what I love? Like I find it so funny that like people who like on the commentary are like call him like outrageous and like bold, and it's like no, this kid is just playing like cricket for fun. Like he's going out there and doing
I
what
think the
he
highlight of
and that's what's brilliant about it.
I think the highlight of Rishabh Pant in this whole series was the press conference post-match presentation he gave to Harsha Bhogle at the end, where Harsha Bhogle told him about his talking behind the stumps, and he basically told Harsha Bhogle, "It's not my fault. You guys have to improve your commentary." That was just outrageous. I think it was brilliant.
Can I just offer one more thing on Rishabh Pant? And if there's anybody listening to this or watching this who knows anything about golf, he reminds me a lot about Jordan Spieth, of Jordan Spieth, where he plays so well sometimes, and it looks absolutely incredible when it comes all together. But there are times when, God, it looks awful. Some of the keeping sometimes where he's like wrong-footed and the catch goes, the other way, or he's dropping catches because his footwork's off, or he's missing stumpings because of stuff like that. It looks bad, and he obviously gets the criticism for it. But God, there are times when he's just genuinely like the best at what he does in the world. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool comparison, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank God we're talking about Rishabh Pant's being close to Jordan Spieth's golfing abilities, because the next person we're going to talk about from New India played this series like Kabir Sodhi's golfing abilities, and that is Shubman Gill. For anyone who's played golf with Kabir knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a pleasant sight at all, and you can't really say Shubman Gill's batting was very pleasant in this
It's
series.
always enjoyable though.
Yeah, that it is enjoyable for the short time that it lasts, in a good way. After and once it goes downhill, it goes very downhill.
It looks nice, but the results don't show it.
There we go. That's Shubman Gill's batting this series in a line. Noor, what do you have to say about Shubman Gill?
I think he just looked nervous. I think after like not performing the first test match, in the second and third, he just looked nervous. I remember there was like the first innings of test 3 in Ahmedabad when we had like 30, 50, like 30, 35 minutes odd left to bat or something in day 1 after we got them all out. He was so nervous. It felt like he just didn't know what to do when Jimmy Anderson was bowling. I think
Yeah.
I think I think it's a mental thing. I think it got to his head. I think his technique is good enough to play. I think he's a good player. And we saw him play against great fast bowlers in Australia. I think just not doing well the first 2 games. I think that just got to him. He looked nervous more than anything else. He just wanted
Yep.
to get off strike.
But I think the only issue is the worst bowler you could allow into your head as an Indian at this point in time is Jimmy Anderson when you're going to England for 5 test matches on his wickets, on his patch. It could get pretty ugly if he doesn't sort it out before he goes to England.
Well, we've seen
I
that
think
it can get ugly and can get pretty good soon after that with Mr. El Capitan. So
Yeah, I think there's some insane stat that he hasn't been dismissed by Jimmy Anderson in 7 years.
yeah, and he was dismissed. I don't know if he was dismissed constantly by Jimmy Anderson in those series. I can't remember exactly, but
It was Bunny apparently.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was Shubman Gill. I think he'll get better.
yeah.
He'll get
I
better.
think he's so young. He just needs more time.
The question is
Yeah.
though, how much time do you give him in the 11? Because you did kind of drop Mayank Agarwal after 2 bad test matches.
You give him as much as he needs because he's
But
the
is that
future.
not unfair on Mayank Agarwal, who's
No, because
been
Shubman
better?
Gill's the future opener for India. Like
Yeah.
Mayank's a little older. Like Shubman's like in his early 20s. Like that, you need to really, in my opinion, you need to like check, like really just protect him in that position and give him opportunities. Because
Fair
like that opening, because Shubman Gill, in my opinion, will be more effective in the long run than a Mayank Agarwal.
Mayank Agarwal will, I think, kind of become a little bit like what Sean Marsh was for Australia, where it's like, shit, like we don't know who to put or where to put him or what to do, but like we've got a really good batsman, so let's just put him in. And
Yeah,
he
there
can
are
fit
there
in
are
there.
talks about him being the next number 5 instead of Washington Sundar.
Exactly. Like the guy can bat.
Because
much
there is an
anywhere, I
argument
think.
to that because he's a very good player of spin, and at 5 you get to play spin. So maybe.
And so he might just end up being like a utility batsman who is either playing out of the team or is a sixth bat. Actually, what the hell is Bihari doing? Where's he? Anyway,
He's not going to fit in
another
anywhere.
question.
That's for the
another
next
question.
test series. Anyway,
Yeah, God.
let's move on to wrap this podcast up with the last of New India, and it's kind of a great representation of what this team has been in the last 2 months. Because he's a guy that no one expected to play Test cricket anytime soon. He hasn't played a Test first class match till 2017. He comes in, kills Australia, whoops like Cummins off one leg for 6. Then comes here, scores 85 not out, 96 not out, wins India Test match, and he's just chilling in life. Washington Sundar, what do you guys have to say?
Just before we say anything, I have a question to ask, and we can answer this after we're like done with this conversation. What is his career going to look like in 10 years? Is it going to be Ashwin? Is it going to be Yuvraj Singh? Is it going to be Raina?
I think it's going to be Steve Smith.
Wait, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is it going to be Steve Smith? Is it going to be Joe Root? Like, what are we looking at going forward? Because anyway, let's address at the end. But let's talk about what we thought of how he did this series.
I mean, I think we already talked about Washi a bit earlier, right? In the podcast when you're talking about if he's our future number 5. So I've said what I think he's incredible. I think he has great technique. I think he's a great stick. I mean, and I think he gives us so much advantage with his ability to bowl. Do I think that is his best skill? No. Do I think he's a better batsman? Yes. So in terms of the question you asked, I think he's more Steve Smith than even Yuvraj Singh because he started off more as a spinner than I mean, at least in the Indian, international context. But I think like 9 is just like way too low for him to bat. He should bat in the top 6 eventually.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, I see him in the top 6. But
Yeah.
I've said my piece about him. He's fantastic.
Kabir.
Okay. Um, for me, I think I'm still not sure yet, right? I don't. Again, I agree with you. I don't think his bowling is his better suit, but can that improve? Yeah, hugely. Do I think that they were kind of grooming him to be the follow up or the backup to Ashwin in years to come? Yes, I think that was the idea initially, right? Um, are his performances reflecting that? No. But is that necessarily going to reflect what happens in the future? No. Again, right? So there's so much uncertainty there as to what he might end up being. My best guess is that his batting is going to be better than his bowling, especially if he keeps playing Test cricket. Obviously needs time away from Test cricket to improve his bowling, I think. But if he's going to keep playing Test cricket, I think his batting will get better and better and better. And naturally, I think that is his better suit. So maybe that is where he'll end up specializing in more so than his bowling.
Yeah, I think I hope whatever he does, he doesn't end up like Raina and Yuvraj in test matches, because there wasn't much of a career over there for either of them. So I think he'll definitely have a better career than both of them. I think Raina might be an accurate, like, in terms of uh, what he might develop into. I think he might end up being a Raina more than a Steve Smith. I don't think he'll become that good a batsman to become like Steve Smith level, one of the best in the world, top order batsman, kind of like Fab Four. But I think Raina is an accurate, like, he'll be a very, very solid middle order batsman in limited overs, and I think he'll have a much better test career than Raina. I think in limited overs, actually, he might be a bit lower down in terms of a bowling all rounder, but I think he needs to develop his bowling, because if you look at all the we heap all this praise on the Indian team, there is one clear weakness, which is our backup, our spin bowling stocks are not great. Like, at least the ones coming through the ranks. After what we have in terms of these three, plus as in Ashwin, Aksar, and Jadeja, obviously, and then
And
Kuldeep.
Sundar and Kuldeep
But
Yadav and
Sundar
Yuzvendra
is
Chahal.
not Yuzvendra Chahal is not a long format bowler. I'm talking
Right. But
about
Ahaan, I don't think we can be complaining about us not having depth in spin bowling. Like
who,
I
who do
really
you
don't
see
think that's
as
a
our
worry.
next off spinner? Ashwin, as a successor to Ashwin, proper.
I think that's what Sundar is meant to be. Ashwin's still going to play for
I
6 years.
don't think Sundar. I mean, I will be more than overjoyed if Sundar develops into that. But I just feel like the Indian team, after seeing what Sundar has done, might just choose to prioritize him and make him into a top order, a really, really solid top order batsman who bowls a little bit, rather than a successor to Ashwin.
Right, but Ashwin's not going to stop playing cricket for the next 6 years.
I
He's
know,
going to.
but we need to build a successor to Ashwin.
Right, that's true. But that is what they were trying with Sundar. So maybe that is what he'll become. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll go towards batting. But there are so many spinners in India who have that potential that I don't think that's really a worry, right? I mean, Varun Chakravarti can do what he did in when Ashwin was really good in limited overs cricket initially. That's what Varun Chakravarti can do, perhaps, right? There's a number of other offies, and we don't.
Limited overs spinners is not an issue. I'm talking about long format. Like,
No, I know. No, I'm just like sort of melding
Well,
the conversation.
in India, like the one thing I can guarantee is that we'll find a good spinner every 5 years.
anyway,
I mean, Ashwin also, I think Ashwin's a legend. Like, and Ashwin is a real. I mean, I don't think it's hard to replicate someone like Ashwin because of the amount of time he dedicates to evolving his game, right? So I think it's unfair to be like, can you ever be as good as Ashwin? Because the guy does so much. Does so much work into his bowling. So like, but do I think there'll be like a really good spinner who'll come up? Yeah, I can like in 5 years for sure. Like, I don't think India is the one team that does not need to worry about its spin bowlers.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, so that was a review of the test matches, and I mean, just some of the key talking points that we felt we needed to talk about.
Can I just say one more thing? I just want to say, England, I thought they performed admirably. I think some of their fast bowlers, Anderson was brilliant. I thought some of their fast bowlers really tried.
Tried.
They tried. No, they did. I think Dom Best.
I think Jack
rubbish.
Leach was good.
Yeah, Jack Leach was quite good. I think Dom Best was rubbish. I think with sort of the management of the players was pretty bad, and the mixed messaging that went out, particularly about Moeen Ali.
About Moeen Ali, not by Moeen Ali.
Yeah, about Moeen Ali, not by Moeen Ali, exactly. Then also how that puts Dombest into a spanner. They tried to bring Sam Curran in. It was just a messy situation. Like already the how they were taking players out and in and out. That's a bit messy in itself. If people know what they're doing, then obviously that makes sense and like that works for the team. But it was there were more variables added to it than needed to be, and I think that threw their entire plans into a spanner. So yeah, I think the management has a lot to think about. I think the players put their best foot out there. I think there's a deeper issue in how the England team is managing their players.
Yeah, I think they've got a. We're gonna see whether their whole rotation policy has borne fruit at the end of the year. But till then, we just have the Englishmen are going to have to accept it, and let's see where it gets them. But I think if you had told them 3-1 at the beginning, they probably would have taken it as like I don't. I think that was what they expected as well. I don't think they, like most people in England, expected to win the Test series in India because it's one of the toughest things to do. No one has won here since 2012. But anyway, that was the Test series. That was some of our views, and we'll catch you guys for probably the T20 preview next because there's some big names coming in there. Rishabh Pant again, Rahul Tewatia, the king. We get
Big dog.
we'll get to
King
all of that. We'll get to all of that in a couple of days. So see you guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and see you soon. Kabir, stop.